Did you know the car you paid for could soon refuse to start? Not because of a dead battery or a mechanical failure, but because a government algorithm said no. No cop, no judge, no override button. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is already written into United States law. It has been funded by Congress, and it is coming to every single new car sold in America. The law nobody talked about. In November 2021, President Biden signed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act into law. It sounded routine: roads, bridges, broadband, water. So most people never read it, exactly as intended. Buried deep inside, Section 24,220, a provision with almost zero public debate, and one many lawmakers didn't even know existed. A provision that could change how Americans interact with their cars. Section 24,220 orders NHTSA to require advanced impaired driving prevention technology in all new vehicles. In plain terms, your car monitors you, and if it decides you're impaired, it can stop you from driving. No police, no breathalyzer, no court, no appeal, just software, making the decision. Originally targeting 2026 model year vehicles, meaning cars being built and sold right now. And here's the part nobody is talking about. Much of the hardware is already installed. It may only take a software update to activate silently. How the technology actually works. Now here is where it gets deeply technical and deeply alarming, because this is not science fiction. A significant portion of this technology is already inside vehicles on the road today. You just didn't know what it was being used for, or what it was being built toward. Under the mandate, automakers can choose from a range of technologies to comply with Section 24,220. Let's break every single one of them down. Number 1. Driver-facing cameras. These are already installed in millions of vehicles on the road right now. They watch your face continuously. They track your eye movement, your blink rate, your head position, and the direction of your gaze. If your eyes appear droopy, if your head tilts, if you look away from the road for what the system decides is too long, it flags you as potentially impaired. You've probably already seen this in action. You're driving, and the dashboard says, "Pay attention to the road," or asks if you need a coffee break. That is this system. Already running, already watching. Number 2. Full cabin monitoring systems. This goes far beyond just watching the driver. One company called Gentex, which has been in the automotive space for decades, already has a rearview mirror system that monitors not just the driver, but every single occupant in the vehicle. Second-row passengers, third-row passengers, children, even pets. It tracks eyes, physical movements, and even audio. What is being said inside your own car. That data is then processed by software that makes behavioral assessments in real time. Number 3. Steering and lane-keeping behavior software. This system analyzes every input you make on the wheel. Subtle drifts, overcorrections, hesitation, erratic lane changes. The algorithm compares your driving behavior against what it has determined is statistically normal. Swerve to avoid a pothole, flagged. Dodge a deer, flagged. Move out of the way of someone crossing the center line, flagged. The system does not know why you made that input. It only knows that the input looked unusual. Number 4. Touch-based alcohol sensors. This is the end-goal technology that does not yet exist at commercial scale, but it is the centerpiece of the entire mandate. Sensors embedded directly into the steering wheel or the engine start button that detect alcohol through your skin the moment you make contact. You press the button to start your car, the sensor reads your body, and if it calculates a probability of impairment, the engine does not start. No breath test, no conversation, no second chance. Number 5. And this one is the proof that this is already real. GM's Super Cruise system, which is already in production vehicles on the road today, can bring your vehicle to a complete stop, activate the hazard lights, and call 911 without any input from the driver. It was designed for medical emergencies. If Super Cruise is active and detects no driver input for a set period of time, the vehicle slows itself, pulls toward the side of the road, stops completely, turns on the flashers, and contacts OnStar emergency services. That system exists, it works, and it proves that cars can already be programmed to override driver control entirely. The concern is not whether the technology can do this. The concern is what happens when technology built for rare emergencies becomes the standard operating procedure for every single drive. The mechanical reality. What actually happens to your car? Let's talk about what actually happens mechanically when a car is forced to shut down, because this is the part of the conversation that almost nobody is having, and it is critical. We already know what happens when cars shut off unexpectedly while driving. GM lived through this nightmare with the ignition switch recall. Vehicles were shutting off while in motion. When the engine cut out, drivers lost power steering. They lost power brake assist. The steering wheel became dramatically harder to turn. The brakes required significantly more force to engage. Drivers lost control, and people died. That was an accidental mechanical failure. Now we are talking about systems designed to intervene on purpose, while the vehicle is in motion. Picture this scenario. You are driving on a highway at 65 miles per hour. The system flags your driving behavior as erratic. Maybe you swerve to avoid debris in the road. The car begins to slow itself down. It activates the hazard lights. It attempts to pull toward the shoulder. But you are in the middle lane. There is traffic on both sides. The car is making decisions that you did not authorize in a situation where those decisions could get you killed. Or picture this. The system flags you before you even leave. You press the start button. The touch sensor detects a chemical compound on your fingers. The car will not start. You are in your driveway. You have somewhere to be, and you have absolutely no way to override it. Now add weather into the equation. A malfunctioning or incorrectly triggered system could strand drivers during extreme weather events, blizzards, hurricanes, flash floods. It could strand a parent rushing a child to the emergency room. It could strand a first responder trying to get to a scene. It could strand someone on a remote road with no cell service and no way to call for help. And here is the mechanical reality that makes this even worse. These systems require extraordinary precision to function correctly. Modern driver assistance systems are deeply integrated with vehicle sensors that require regular calibration. Replace your windshield. You must recalibrate the cameras. Get a wheel alignment. The sensors must be reset. One automotive expert noted that a four-wheel alignment on a vehicle with advanced sensor systems can cost nearly $1,200 and take up to 9 hours. Not because of the alignment itself, but because of the sensor recalibration required afterward. The calibration equipment alone costs nearly $50,000. That cost flows through every repair shop, every dealership service center, and ultimately directly back to you through higher repair bills and higher insurance rates. And then there is the software side. Tesla has already demonstrated the ability to push updates to every vehicle in their fleet simultaneously, overnight, without individual owner consent. During Hurricane Irma, Tesla extended battery range across all vehicles in the affected area with a single remote update. That capability is remarkable in an emergency, but that same capability, applied to a system designed to restrict vehicle operation, is a completely different conversation. Who gets hurt? The human cost of false positives. Here is the part of this story that should make every single person watching this video genuinely angry. Because this system does not target drunk drivers. It targets everyone, every time, without exception. And false positives are not a theoretical risk. They are a mathematical certainty. Fatigue. If you work a night shift and you are driving home at 6 in the morning, your eyes are heavy, your blink rate is slower, your head may dip. To a camera and an algorithm, that is indistinguishable from impairment. Your car could refuse to let you drive home from a legal, honest day of work. Prescription medications. Millions of Americans take daily medications, antidepressants, antihistamines, blood pressure drugs, pain management prescriptions. Many of these affect eye movement, reaction time, and motor behavior in ways that mirror impairment signals. The system does not know you have a valid prescription. It only sees the behavior. Medical conditions. Diabetes can cause tremors and erratic physical responses. Neurological disorders affect motor control and eye movement. Anxiety, which tens of millions of Americans live with every single day, causes exactly the physical responses these systems are built to detect. Elevated heart rate, shaking hands, rapid eye movement, tense grip on the wheel. The system reads anxiety as impairment. And then there are the everyday scenarios that sound almost absurd, until you realize they are completely real and completely unavoidable. You used mouthwash before getting in the car. Standard mouthwash contains significant levels of alcohol. The touch sensor on your steering wheel or start button detects it. Car will not start. You remove nail polish before leaving the house. The chemical residue on your fingertips triggers the sensor. Car will not start. You are a painter and spent the morning cleaning brushes with solvent. You get in the car. The system detects chemical compounds consistent with alcohol-adjacent substances. Car will not start. You sprayed perfume before heading out. Many perfumes and colognes contain high concentrations of alcohol. The sensor picks it up through skin contact. Car will not start. But here is the scenario that almost nobody is talking about, and it might be the most infuriating one of all. You are the designated driver. You are completely sober. You made the responsible choice. You are driving your friends home after a night out. One of them had too much to drink. They are sitting in the passenger seat or the back seat. The cabin monitoring system detects alcohol. The sensors pick up the presence of alcohol in the air inside the vehicle. The system cannot distinguish between the sober driver and the drunk passenger. The car flags the driver. The car that you are responsibly operating, sober, decides you are impaired because your passenger drank. Think about what that means. The person who did everything right, who chose not to drink, who volunteered to drive, who kept their friends safe, gets punished by the system designed to stop drunk driving. The very behavior the law claims to encourage becomes the behavior the technology penalizes. And the Gentex cabin monitoring system makes this even more specific, because that system monitors the entire cabin, not just the driver. It can detect what is happening in the second and third row of the vehicle, which means the system has access to information about every occupant. But the intervention, the lockout, the shutdown, still falls on the driver. The person holding the wheel pays the price for what someone else in the car consumed. And once you are flagged, once the system decides you are impaired, there is no federal rule defining how you get out. No required appeals process, no mandated reset timeline, no human review, no phone number, no override button. You cannot call the manufacturer. It is software-based. They have no control. You cannot call the dealer. You cannot call the police to unlock it. Each manufacturer sets their own undisclosed reset period. And until that timer expires, you are not going anywhere. Critics are already calling it kill switch jail, and that name is exactly accurate. If you're finding this information helpful, please hit like button and subscribe. This is not about drunk driving. Let's be clear, nobody is defending drunk driving. It kills people, it destroys families, and we already have proven constitutional solutions. There are 31 approved ignition interlock systems in the US, breathalyzer devices installed only after a DUI conviction, after due process, after a judge's order. The offender pays, not every driver. Section 24,220 ignores that system. It doesn't target convicted offenders. It targets every driver, every time, regardless of record, history, or evidence. And here's the bigger question. Distracted driving equals number 1 cause of deaths. Speeding equals number 2. Impaired driving equals number 3. So if the goal is saving lives, why focus on number 3 while applying surveillance to 100% of drivers? The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable search. But this technology monitors your behavior, eyes, voice, location, continuously. No warrant, no consent, no choice. You didn't agree to it. You just bought a car. The data problem. Your car is becoming a surveillance device. This goes beyond the kill switch, and it may have longer-lasting consequences. If your car is monitoring you, that data exists. And if it exists, someone wants it. Insurance companies already use telematics, tracking speed, braking, acceleration to set premiums. Now imagine that scaled up. Cameras tracking your eyes, sensors reading your body, software analyzing every move. Your premium goes up over one aggressive lane change. It goes up for braking hard to avoid a crash. You're being penalized for driving by the car you paid for. Then there's government access. The Twitter files showed agencies pressuring tech companies behind the scenes. Now apply that to cars, where manufacturers hold massive behavioral data on every driver. Once that system exists, it's not if data is requested, it's when. The UK is already rolling out 15-minute cities, limiting how far people travel by car. Now combine that with vehicle monitoring and remote control tech going global. EU, China, others will follow. Because it's not just technology, it's a system for tracking and potentially controlling movement. The cost nobody is calculating. On top of everything else, this mandate is going to cost you, directly, unavoidably, and significantly. New vehicles are already at record high prices. Now add cameras, touch sensors, driver monitoring systems, behavioral analysis software, and the compliance infrastructure required to run it all. That pushes prices even higher. And this isn't optional. You can't pick a lower trim to avoid it. You can't negotiate it off the sticker. If you buy the car, you pay for it. We've already seen a preview with start-stop technology. It wasn't mandated, but it was heavily pushed to meet emissions targets. Drivers didn't ask for engines shutting off at every red light. It adds wear to the starter, requires more expensive batteries, increases drivetrain complexity, and delivers only about 1 to 2 miles per gallon improvement. It costs more to maintain and benefits manufacturers' regulatory scores, not drivers. Now scale that up. More sensors, more cameras, more software, more calibration, more failure points, more expensive repairs, all passed directly to you. And it doesn't stop with new cars. As buyers avoid these systems, demand for pre-2026 vehicles rises. Supply is limited. Prices climb even higher. The people who can't afford new cars get pushed out of used ones too. This doesn't just affect buyers, it affects everyone. What Congress did and what you can do right now. In January 2026, Representative Thomas Massey of Kentucky introduced an amendment to block all funding for NHTSA's implementation of Section 24,220. He read the bill on the floor. He explained exactly what it would do. The amendment was defeated, with both Republicans and Democrats voting against it. Lawmakers who had previously expressed opposition to the kill switch were persuaded or misled into supporting the funding. Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee stood up and warned directly. Consumers will stop buying new cars. This will damage the auto industry. This will drive up used car prices. And he is right. The No-Kill Switches in Cars Act has been introduced to repeal Section 24,220 outright. It is currently stalled. The mandate is still funded. NHTSA is still moving forward. Here is what you can do right now. Contact your representatives. Specifically, call your senator. Call your House representative. Reference Section 24,220 by name. Tell them you want it defunded. Tell them you support the No-Kill Switches in Cars Act. Be specific. Be persistent. Elected officials respond to constituent pressure when it is organized and loud. Share this information. Most people have no idea this is happening. The bill was buried intentionally. Every person you tell is one more voice. Think carefully about your next vehicle purchase. Know what monitoring systems are in the vehicle you are buying. Ask the dealer directly. Understand that a software update, one you may never be notified about, could activate capabilities already built into the hardware. The law is written, the tech is being built, the funding is approved, and the window to stop it is now, not later. This isn't just about drunk driving anymore. It's about whether an algorithm, not you, decides when your car moves. If that concerns you, don't stay quiet. Share this video and start the conversation. Once this becomes normal, it doesn't go away. Now I want to hear your take. Do you support this mandate or does it go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.